In India, in a country where we're talking about 1 billion plus people, I think it's interesting to even talk about the notion of small being the new big, but that's what we're going to do. How small and medium ICT companies do business in India and Germany, a comparison. And I've got two gentlemen on the stage who know a thing or two about the comparison. One is, you could call a veteran of German-India relations. That is Mr. Heinz Paul-Bonn, right here to my right. And next to him is Ulrich Bäumer. He is one of Germany's leading attorneys, especially in everything that has to deal with German and India relations and business ties. Gentlemen, it's good to have you here with us today. Mr. Bonn, you've got a little presentation you'd like to start us off with. Please do so.
Yes, that's right. Ladies and gentlemen, when I was thinking about how to discuss and how to start this question, small is the new big, I thought I had to look a little bit in Indian literature. Now, there were some names which were impressing me deeply. Some of these I know personally. It is, I will come later on to this, a gentleman called Seth Godin. These are two presidents of NASSCOM, Mr. Natarajan and Mr. Pawar, and please, the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, who actually did give me very deep impulses so far. When Seth Godin wrote his new famous blog about small is the new big back in 2006, has a long tradition, this discussion. Yeah. He had in mind that the old paradigm of a successful business career has vanished. Until the turn of the millennium, it was hip. You remember, to become a chief executive officer of a Fortune 500 company. This meant power, this meant global reach, it meant business and big salary. It was the paradigm of the old US Army veterans: start big, aim big, be big. 8 years later, beside the two gentlemen of NASSCOM...
One second, Mr. Bonn. Can we turn the phones off? I mean, yeah, let's keep the phones off. If we hear the phone again, we'll have to interrupt Mr. Bonn again, and that's not very polite. All right? All right, thanks. Go ahead, Mr. Bonn.
Okay. In 2012, on NASSCOM conferences, the two NASSCOM presidents, Natarajan and Pawar, started with a statement, small is the new big, but our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, started this year this statement again in fascinating stories. And because I am in India here, I quote with a great pleasure out of an article a couple of days old. Ever since he became Prime Minister of the world's biggest democracy, he has obviously decided to shrink himself and play down his achievements. So many of his speeches, and this was influencing me deeply, are about being a small man with big dreams. Each time he repeats that line, he receives thunderous applause. In America, for example, a couple of weeks before, he frequently reminded his fawning fans about his small beginnings as a chaiwala. I had to read what it is. Adding, it was the experience of running a chai stall that made him aware of small things and small details that need attention. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone virtually overnight, and this is the first message. Small became the new big in India. And I may quote of his Independence Day speech, which was highly regarded in the Western world, and I took the Saturday before I flew in to read it. It deeply impressed me, talking about the implications that come up with the digital age. He mentioned the micro, small, and medium enterprises, which employ roughly 60% of the entire Indian population and amount to the largest workforce after agriculture. They produce, ladies and gentlemen, 45% of the total industry output and contribute to 40% of the total export. While your country has set up a tremendous and ambitious plan that leads your country, I'm sure, into the digital age. It becomes, to my opinion, absolutely necessary to involve these micro, small, and mid-sized companies into this process of change. As it is widely agreed upon, the digitalization of business processes in connection with mobile computing, cloud computing, and social networking is a real game changer to every economy, be it small or be it big. Let me put it this way. The smallest items are about to make the biggest push in the economy and technological development of the world, the mobile devices. And we see, for example, how mobile devices are even influences our fire talk here. This is not a great challenge for countries like India. We in Germany have to make sure as well that in the near future, the digital infrastructure meets the needs of the digital revolution, dubbed as the, we call it in Germany, Internet of Things and Services, IoT. Today, every German citizen uses more than one mobile device, so more than 80 million mobile devices share our German infrastructure. We expect this to tenfold in the near future, given the fast rise of sensors, actors, and physical devices to communicate over the internet. On the other hand, India is already the third biggest mobile market in the world, so only 10% of the population actually possesses a smartphone. That leads to 900 million potential new users and customers, or a tenfold rise of mobile devices in the next future. A huge market, but I believe a challenging endeavor. And what is more, we will experience the dawn of digital age, be it in Germany or be it in India, only if we manage to include small and mid-sized enterprises into the scenario. Yeah, this will give sense. Industry 4.0. This is another expression we have in Germany now. In US, they use the manufacturing of the future for the same thing. It's not only the game of global players like Volkswagen or here in India, Tata Group. It is the promise that every person, every machine, every company in every part of the world has access to the World Wide Web and other global networks. Industry 4.0 is a very promising concept of how to involve an industry by digitalization of virtually every manufacturing step. Germany, a small country in terms of geographical dimensions, is in the comfortable situation to aim big economically. We are one of the biggest export nations, outplayed only by China, with its vastness of population and space. It is generally unknown outside Europe that 99% of the 3.3 million companies in Germany are regarded small or medium-sized, with less than 400 employees. Other sources define Mittelstand, this is the German word for middle class or middle-sized companies, as typically privately held. That means there is always existing a private owner, a patron. Companies with a revenue of 50 million euro or less. They represent roughly 40% of the combined revenue and employ around 2/3 of the total German workforce. And what may be even more important into the long run, they train, ladies and gentlemen, more than 80% of the apprentices, which is a very, very important statement. Many mid-sized companies are today at the verge of this Industry 4.0 process, and they urge our government to support innovation. As you do too, we need to innovate our nation's infrastructure, which is about to be in the need of innovation too. For example, we have the longest motorway network, but estimates say that about 60 out of 39,000 bridges need renovation or just are in the process to be closed. Another example, to give you examples for your own destiny here, we cover more than an area of about 360,000 square kilometers, and though Germany covers only 1/10 of your Indian territory, we still have regions with slow access to the internet. Unbelievable. Not to mention fast and uninterrupted mobile access. If you drive with a car in Germany, sometimes you are out of access with your mobile phone.
Or when you're on the train.
Yeah, this is
Germany.
a little bit here. In the train anyway, there is a rare
Train
position.
is terrible.
Yeah, we have set up a national-wide plan to establish 50 megabit per second access all over the country by 2018. I hope, but I don't believe. This doesn't sound too ambitious, ladies and gentlemen, but it's hard to achieve anyway. The Digital India plan, now let us come to your country, of Prime Minister Modi envisages providing digital infrastructure as a utility to every individual, delivering governance and services. This means that 250,000 gram panchayats, I hope I spell it correctly, I learned these are local governments of a village or a small town in India, have to be connected to the National Optical Fiber Network. To connect the first 50,000, ladies and gentlemen, this year is already a huge goal. But this is the right thing to do. If India, as well as Germany in a smaller scale, is able to provide access to the mobile internet, and not only in the mega cities, but in rural areas, the digital infrastructure will become the backbone of a boom area for small and mid-sized companies. And once again, even if there is short time, I quote out of this beautiful Independence Day speech of your Prime Minister, brothers and sisters, if we move ahead with all this, then I believe that a digital India will have the potential to stand with the world on equal footing. Our youth have the capability, it is an opportunity for them, quote, and I think this is a fascinating quote. Considering the fact that 55% of the micro, small, and mid-sized enterprises in India are located in rural areas of the country, they play a very important role in growth for everybody and even distribution of income in your nation. They are the seedbeds of innovation and tap into the latent entrepreneurial talent of country. On a smaller scale, we face the same challenge in Germany. We are investing heavily in the infrastructure of the future called Industry 4.0 projects wherever they appear, be it in the city of Berlin or in the rural scenery of the Black Forest, where many of the hidden champions, we call it, are situated. Our approach is twofold. First, establish beacon projects to attract followers. Second, encourage new companies to create new business. It is the achievement of, and now let us come to CeBIT, of Hannover Fair and CeBIT to bring up the idea of Industry 4.0 and following the fact Hannover Fair and CeBIT in Germany are the number one meeting point for Industry 4.0. Related displays, thus CeBIT has embraced small and mid-sized companies to exhibit and meet their market. I am confident that this development will take place in India as well, and look for his very important things in Hall 2 and 3, and for example, this Plus 91 activity of Infosys. I was there, it's remarkable. The better we are to provide standards for mobile computing and cloud computing, the more we encourage young and well-educated people to start their own company and enter a career as entrepreneur. We have already set up a special program to help young, agile people with a potential business idea to start their own company. We are far away from developing an incubator for startups as the Silicon Valley appears to be, but we see a lot of new companies around technology, areas like cloud and mobile computing, Industry 4.0, or social networks. We expect these small companies create more new jobs than global players in Germany. Once again, look in hall number 2, in the Infosys activity, and hall number 3. And I hope, I'm sure that this will happen in India too. The fact that CeBIT India is there a little bit in advance to the coming CeBIT in Hanover is giving the best proof for that. After 2 decades of job pilgrimage to Europe and the US for well-educated Indian IT experts, Digital India, ladies and gentlemen, promises huge opportunities within the country. Take the chance, turn Digital India into Make It in India, and the future is yours. And remember, if you would have a proof yourself, there was in India Times a couple of days before an article from XL to S, which means why small is suddenly the new big. And the statement there is, the moral of this story is starting small was never a sin. Staying small, even after getting a big opportunity, definitely is. So far, I'm sure we started well. You started well. This is a good chance for both countries. Let us do it. Thank you so much.
Mr. Bäumer, did you want to pick up on this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Brent. So I would like to continue where Heinz left off and talk a little bit about small is the new big, or small can be the new big. So I want to talk a little bit about mergers, acquisitions, and I want to talk about it because A, I've done a lot, so I talk about experience, but 2, I think there's a misconception that M&A, mergers, acquisitions, that growing inorganically is only for the big boys, is only for the large companies, only for the Microsofts and the Googles of the world. It is not. And there is a huge logic for SME companies to consider buying companies in foreign markets. And I think Heinz talked about Germany a lot. Obviously, we are from Germany, I'm from Germany, so I can talk about Germany, for example. If you compare the German economy to the Indian economy, you will find more parallels than differences. Obviously, we are different cultures and different languages, and everything is there, it's visible. But if you go beyond the visible differences, you find that the setup of our economy is very much like your economy. It's driven by SME. Heinz just mentioned the numbers. 80% of the workforce employed, educated by SME. The German Mittelstand is the backbone of the German economy, just like in India, a lot of SME companies are the backbone of your economy. So I'm advising German companies coming to India, I'm advising a lot of Indian companies going into Europe and going into Germany, and they all stand there and think this market is unpenetrable because it's too complicated. And I always ask myself, why is it that on each side of the table there's the same problems and the same risks and issues involved, which can all be solved? I'm doing this for 15 years now, and not a single transaction have failed because of a legal or a cultural issue. It's all doable, but I think it's a fear of the unknown which stops business, and I think it's time now for this to stop. I think we are now in a global world, and I think we can achieve most of the business parameters that we need to do. And when I talk about M&A for SME, I give you some examples. There are companies, they are large, but they are not the biggest companies in the world, like Mindtree in India, which is a large company, but it's not it's not a Microsoft, definitely not. But companies like that, who are definitely looking currently at companies in Europe and many other Indian SME companies, and there's a logic for doing so. So why would Indian SME companies look for buying companies in Europe? It's market entry. It's buying customers. It's very hard to set up an organization in all these European countries when you're an SME company because you're stretched with your talent. You don't have enough manpower to go to all these countries and set up business and grow it organically. It's not going to happen. You are stretching yourself too thin. If you start looking at a partner and you find a partner, you will realize very quickly the German SME company have similar problems. They are too thinly stretched. They cannot globalize themselves. Most of the German SME companies, and this holds true for most of Western Europe, the French, the Italian, the Spanish, the Swiss, all the same, you find excellent IT companies who have wonderful clients, but they cannot do any global projects for them. The large customers of these local IT companies in these European countries are not looked at for a certain amount of work, the interesting work, the global work. So they need a partner. We also have a lot of succession issues. A lot of companies are now run by a family, run by an owner. The next generation, it's not like in India. In Europe, nobody wants to be an engineer. It's too complicated. Nobody knows how to do math. They don't want to do it. So they all do the soft skills, the lawyers, the doctors. Nobody wants to really go to a hard drill engineering school anymore in Germany. So they all won't find successors to their businesses. They're all up for sale. There are an incredible amount of companies up for sale, succession planning, which you can take over. You can do one of two models. You integrate them quickly and then run it for them, or you keep them running at arm's length. Good example, it's not an SME by all means, but if you look at Tata Motors, what Tata Motors did to Jaguar and Land Rover, they kept them at arm's length, and what a wonderful example of how you not integrate quickly a company, but run it at arm's length, and you still leverage a lot from it. So there are so many models. All of them are proven, tested, and my view is, especially with the demographic dividend that India has, I think you really have to play your cards right, and I see all potential for India to do so. Everything is looking at you. If you look at Industry 4.0, Heinz just talked about it. What is Industry 4.0? It is engineering meets IT. If I look at engineering meets IT, I can see India written all over it. This is two strengths of Indian economy, engineering and IT. Now, if these two worlds meet, and they will meet in Hannover for the Hannover Messe in April 2015, I can see only one country in the world that can really, truly benefit from this development, and that's India. So I think Indian companies have to stop worrying too much about foreign markets, the European markets. It's a tough market, I can tell you. The German market, the French market, they have very complex rules, compliance rules, but they can be cracked. It's not too complicated. You need, of course, help. You need to understand what the market rules are. You have to play by the rules. If you do so, it's very easy. The American IT companies have all done it. All of the American IT companies 20 years ago were standing at the brink of Europe trying to penetrate the market. They have all done it successfully. They understood the rules, they play by the rules, and they make good money. So one word about the Indian industry, IT industry. If I have the correct numbers, the whole IT industry in India is just the same size as IBM today. So compare IBM to the rest of the entire Indian IT industry. There's so much room to grow. Why can't there be 10 IBMs in India in 5 years or 10 years? I believe there can be. One route is M&A, I talked about it. Another route is normal organic growth. The clients are sitting in Europe. Europe is not yet penetrated in terms of outsourcing and engineering outsourcing as the US. I think if you get the model right, you can really make a big way into Europe, integrating European companies. So I think small is not just the new big, but small can also be the new big. With this, I would like to close.
I think that's a great statistic, too, that you throw out, that the entire IT industry in India is equal to the size of IBM today. That kind of puts things in perspective. Why would a small or medium-sized IT company in India, why would they be interested, though, in doing business with a German company, a French company, American company, when they have a market here that is still basically untapped? I mean, there's so much to do at home. Why look at M&A activity abroad?
People like Mittelstand people. I know that in India, for example, at the moment there are 12,000 pharmaceutical companies, and I know here is a lot of small, well-reputed small software houses. I would be able, as a beginning, to give my software, my source code, which is now 20 years experience in Europe, to give to Indian small software houses and saying, please take the software, take the approach for Indian small companies. You must not pay from the early beginning licenses, start to earn money, and if you are uneven, let us talk about business, which would be my contribution to contribute to the Indian establishment of an own market, which is based on market wisdom. Stop only in exploiting your intelligence by sending it to what else? Do it here. 12,000, for example, pharmaceutical companies are waiting for good software and they are not able to afford SAP. It's only an example, but only merger and acquisition, for my opinion, is not enough. The domain wisdom, we from Germany, from German Mittelstand, we are doing it for decades, to import it to India, to find fair ways to transport. Sometimes this should be possible. European wisdom combined with your excellency here to do it in India, this would be a good idea. And not, I get a lot of companies today again who are saying, Heinz Paulo, it worked for you in Germany. I need your help here, helping me making your market on your own behalf. This would be a way of not only one direction. We come to India, support you, and you come to Europe and help us. This would be a balanced way to establish a healthy, prospering Mittelstand in India.
The other reason is that SME companies today also need to be global. That is a hard fact. It's not easy, but it's true. If you're an SME company and you want to service a certain clientele, certain sector, automotive, for example, your client will be international, they will be global, and they will need you in all these countries. And if you just service them in one country, just in India or just in Germany, they will not look at you because you can only help them with one need and they have 100 needs. That's one. And the second is you can actually use the model to find reverse customers, because if you buy a company in Europe, they have European clients and European customers. Lo and behold, they're in India as well. Volkswagen is in India. They're big time, and they do a lot of IT development in India as well. So if you buy a company that services Volkswagen and you can establish a relationship with Volkswagen through the acquisition, the next step is to bring this relationship to India. And this has been a proven model of growing your business.
I know we're running out of time. I know you gentlemen have to leave. The government, the new government in Germany, Prime Minister Modi, what do you expect from that in terms of opening up, the small and middle-sized business world of India to outside business? What are your hopes? I mean, what are your expectations? And then we'll let you go.
My expectations are that the government at the moment with Mr. Modi on your side and our government on the other side identified that they have to move. That the digital age is coming, but excuse me, I'm a German. Sometimes you have to push politicians. We are the people, and if Mr. Modi is saying that the small people, I learned at Chaiwala and he said, I made it. Let us follow up, Mr. Modi. Let us all go this way. If we are the people, if we creating the pressure, government will follow. But there's nothing where we sit and waiting. We have to do it together, and even if I am one of the eldest here, I feel young enough to start it. We are together in India 10 years now attending NASCOM. I learned that movements start with intelligent people. Let us be the intelligent people. Let's see with India, let us start.
So the new government has to compete with the old government, because they had a lot of intergovernmental meetings between the German and Indian government, so we're starting from very high level. I would be happy if they can just maintain the momentum. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, thank you very much. That's going to wrap up this session, and don't forget at 6:30 are the Cyber Media Awards on center stage. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.